say that. Okay. I almost forgot to hit the actual go live button in YouTube. That would have been not great. Not great. So we've got Corgo. We've got some platforms. The Corgo collision object is a little bit off. The platform collision objects are a little bit off. So syncing those, I think, is going to be one of today's priority. I bought the Sprite tool, or the Sprite creation tool, so we can get rid of this little like flashing red thing that's like, hey, buy the thing. But we've got a bunch of issues to get through today, I think. Let's see. Let's get Rest Adventure Super Corgo issues. I do have a bunch of art assets now. So we've got the platforms and the floors, some enemies and stuff. I think we'll just pull in this sprite sheet and then try to figure out like where to put these and how to put these. Let's see, there's Bevy Parallax, which is another thing that we could look into. So I think this doesn't handle resizing yet, which is interesting. We don't really have, yeah, so it doesn't support resizing yet, only horizontal for now. Horizontal is fine. We don't really even have multiple images, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But yeah, we have some art assets for platforms and stuff. So we'll try to pull those in today. And then the respawn floor should also be fairly easy. Well, not easy. Easy is the wrong word. I think that we should have a respawn floor at like, I don't know, some low pixel value. So we'll get that done as well. The Corgi sprite facing in one direction. Let's fix the Corgi sprite first. All right. So that's the... Let's get rid of the Corgi for now. I think I have an old copy in here. Nope, I don't. Because I killed my terminal and my history is messed up. So let's copy volumes, right? Volumes? Slash volumes? Slash volumes, home, random pass through, party corgi sprites.png, and then we'll copy that into assets, textures, party corgi sprites.png. And when we cargo run now, we should have a sprite sheet that is not flashing at us. It is still running backwards, which I couldn't figure out how to fix that in the sprite sheet. So I think we do have to fix that actually in the code. We still have this double jump issue too. So let's take a look at the sprite sheet. Rust Analyzer is still reloading. Dang. Sprite.index. So I still think this is going to be like this. The length of the texture is -1 minus the current index should give us the ordering of the indexes in reverse, right? As I sneeze all over the place. But that doesn't give us actually what I think it should give us. And I'm not sure why. So let's debug out this value and see what we're getting. Let's debug out this. And also the whole thing. Sprite as usize +1 needs to be in parens. And then I think we're good. The other thing I want to do with the sprite today is when you're moving right, have it face right. When you're moving left, have it face left. It's a lot of output. All right, so let's stop the game. Now let's see. 110, 11, 0. These seem right. 110, 11, 0, 110, 11, 0. Am I setting this accidentally? Is that what's happening here? Oh, you know what? Sprite.index equals this. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's the problem. We need to think about it differently. That's why. So sprite index as usize +1 mod textures.length. We'll flip it to one way and then it'll flip back when we do that again. It's not my favorite. I think the mod is a little bit too tricky. So let's do sprite.index as usize +1, right? To block if sprite.index equals 1, then we'll do texture atlas dot textures dot length, else sprite index -1, right? And that'll give me an issue because these types don't match. Let's see which types they're expecting. Expected U32 found usize. So as U32, which will be fine for us for now, because we don't expect textures to overflow a U32 anyway. So the index is out of bounds. We still have this debug. This debug isn't really what I want anymore. So let's comment that out for a second. And let's debug this. One thing I really love about Rust is that the everything is basically an expression. So if here is an expression, that we can just print the return value of. Attempt to subtract with overflow. Okay. Is sprite index 0 when we start out? Suppose it is, right? Or sprite.index equals 0. Gives us an easy, I didn't name that correctly, did I? Sprint.index? Oof. Back to my agile days. Minimize this over here. Okay, still panicking. 12. Sprite index -1 equals 12. That doesn't sound right. There's only 11, so we need -1 here. Which means that our other debug needs to have -1 as well. Otherwise, we won't have the right numbers debugging out. Okay, same thing. Attempt to subtract with overflow. At 212. So 212 is here, right? Because we start at 0. So if we subtract from 0, we get overflow. Makes sense to me. That should never fall through to there. So that is definitely a bug. All right, so now we're running in the correct fashion here. I'm happy with that. Let's get rid of these debugs because they're kind of annoying. We need to like store the last press detection or something like that. Or like we need to fire an event to swap the direction of the corgi. I wonder if we can do that easily. Because, where is it? Here, when we just pressed left, maybe we flip the direction of the corgi here as well. Which means, what do we need? Where do we have flip X on? The texture atlas sprite, which is on the rigid body, which is on this. So if we just add this here and we call it mutable, maybe we can flip X or set flip X anyway. So where's the, I'm not destructuring here. I should start destructuring here because otherwise these numbers are going to get a little bit iffy. Is flip X not on texture atlas sprite? It is a little bit annoying that if you haven't pressed a key that it's still running. So I wonder if we store some state for that. I put them in the wrong direction. Now it's only running backwards, but that works, so that's good. We'll just make this false and we'll make this true. Also, how's everybody's morning going? I guess it's not morning for everybody, is it? All right, so we've got a corgi that goes back and forth, that can jump infinitely, because corgis can do that. Let's do Let's commit that. GC message. Corgi to face direction it's going. We'll push that up. And then we need to sync the collider for the platforms with the actual platform sprite. We didn't really figure out how to get that done yesterday. Where's our collider? So this is our second ground piece. And this is our first ground piece. So I think that we're going to actually end up doing something where we read in some like level description. And then it places all of these platforms in the right spots. But for now, create the ground. How do we sync the size of the collider with the size of the sprite? So the collider is 1,000. We have it multiplied by 2 right now. So maybe if I make this 500, this is the first ground, right? So let's check the first ground and see if it's the right size. Lunchtime here? Nice, nice. What are you doing for lunch, Adrian? It's like 9 a.m. here. And I don't really do early wake up times. Okay, so that's the wrong... That didn't quite work. I think we made the... Look at how big that is. It extends all the way out to here. So there's something about mapping the collider to the actual... Look how long this is. It's all the way out to here. Holy. What's the other collider? This is 10. And the sprite here is 250. We're not multiplying the scale by 25, are we? Yeah, we are multiplying the scale by 25. Okay. So this should fit as far as I know. 10 and 25 should make 250, right? Feels weird, feels off for some reason. Feels like it's not actually 250. But this does need to be smaller. Let's make that 10. Let's make this 500. And see if the scale fits. Hot dogs in the air fryer. Nice. I need to recenter myself on this camera. Like, I set up the center of my desk like over here. All right, so let's see. Do I fall off right here? I do fall off right here. So that is like, that's right, I think. So it's 50 times for some reason. Why is it 50 times? The other thing we need to do is make the corgi box fit the corgi a little bit better. But so if the collider is 10 and we're multiplying the scale by 25, where's the 2 coming from? I don't think it matters at the current moment, but I am concerned about where that 2 is coming from. So these platforms should be accurately sized now. The C isn't overlapping me like this. Oh, you know what? I don't know why the C is on the live stream. That feels strange. That feels like it shouldn't be happening, right? I should put myself in the top corner. I don't think I'm going to change it right now, but I will figure something out, I suppose. Okay, so the platforms should be in the right spot now. There's that. So let's move that platform off a little so we have to jump to it. So instead of 10, let's say that the offset on the ground is 30. It looks like it still won't be far enough, but that's okay. I also think we're going to have to make everything smaller in this, so I'm not too worried about that. Corgi drops in and like, I'm going to jump. Corgi hits the wall. Corgi hits the wall. That's way too, like, if the jump's going to be that low, that's like not even. The other thing is the speed for the left and the right is way too fast. GC message, colliders, match, sprite sizes. So we'll push that up. Okay, so we conquered a couple things already. Let's say, where's the sprite stuff? Corgi sprite only faces one direction. Fixed both aspects. Close with comment. And then we have floor sprites should match collider size. Colliders match now. I should really be doing this in like closes this in my commit messages, but I have poor Git cleanliness or whatever. Discipline, I don't know. So yeah, max speed is uncapped. The respawn floor is interesting. Let's do the respawn floor. Because if we do a collider like this and we insert something like this, right? So we're going to insert another floor. And the floor I'm going to just make visible temporarily. But let's make it red. And then let's put it at like -30, just so we have a floor that we can see. Collider. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let's do -30 up here. We'll put this as 0. And this will be like really long, right? Like 1,000. So if I added 2 zeros there, what are we multiplying by 50? So it's 50, 0, 0, 0. 50,000. It's quite a bit. The long cargo run. And hopefully we get a red floor. And then I think the only thing we need to do is like listen to events on the floor. And when we get an event for the floor, then we can reset. I don't see the floor though. Maybe it's too low. Oh, there's the floor. It's off screen, like way off screen. Where is the -30? Let's do -10. And let me rename this to create the respawn floor instead. And this is no longer a bouncing ball. That's a corgi. Okay, so there's our like death floor or whatever. So we should be able to be like, no, I fell. And when you hit that, it should respawn you. Can't even make the platform jumps in my own game. So we need to go to the Rapier docks. And we need to do collision detection of some kind. Collision groups and solver groups. Everything's going to interact with the corgi, so I don't know that we care about grouping stuff yet. By default, collision detection is completely disabled between two colliders when both are attached to non-dynamic bodies. Both of these are dynamic, so it's fine. We might want to change the type of body that the respawn floor is, because it'll never move. Event handlers, there we go. Okay, so collider bundle, we can set the active events with the flags, and then modify collider active events. This is a system where we query for collider flags. But that doesn't look like it gives us any specific collider flags, so we probably have to query for like collider flags and also some other component to get the respawn floor. So we'll probably, this is the respawn floor, right? So I'll insert respawn floor, and then up at the top we'll create a new struct, respawn floor, just as a label. And then the collider for the respawn floor is here, which we need to set the flags on. I think we only need contact events, but we'll find out. So then let's do a system. So function respawn. And then we need the query from over here. So the collider flags query. The collider flags query will also look for with respawn floor. I think that's good. And then we have this. So co-flags and where do we define flags? Oh, that's flags. Okay. Why is that yelling at me though? Flags. Oh, I don't have a angled bracket here. So respawn, we'll add respawn as a system. Add system, respawn.system. And hopefully that gives us co-flags. I think that's for collider flags. And then we run this again and we jump off our platform. Or we have a borrow error and take a shared reference first, and then we jump off. Always keeping the corgi safe. That's what the Rusty compiler is for. Okay. So let's see if we can parse these really fast. It doesn't look like they change. It does change when it hits a little bit, but I think that's only the intersection. Wait, is that's setting? Yeah, okay, that's setting the Whoops, that is not what we need to do. Oh well. So these are the flags. Let's look at contact events. I think contact events are really what we want. The thing that I want is we have to do a manual like check for each of these. That's kind of So narrow phase, entity one, entity two. It's interesting to me that they don't show the queries here. Like they're just like, ah, yeah, you'll know how to do this. Entity one dot handle and entity two dot handle. I don't know what entity's type is, so hopefully those are just like regular entities. So something like this. So instead of that whole thing, we want this kind of thing. We want a query for entity with respawn floor. Right? I feel like I messed up some syntax there. Oh, right. I don't have a name for this. This is the floor. And the player is a query for an entity. I think this might need to be a query set just because I'm accessing multiple entities, but I'm not sure. Player. Oh, entity. If I could spell, my programming career would go much better. So entity one equals floor dot single dot unwrap. And then this is also player dot single dot unwrap. And that should give us the entity for both of these. Hopefully the entity dot handle is referring to that entity. Respawn now. And we'll see if that kind of works. Hopefully that kind of works. Oh, I did something wrong here. Delimiter. I should have known that something was wrong when Rust Analyzer did not auto format for me. Let's see, narrow phase, comma, arrow, 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 arrow. And that doesn't need a comma, right? Oh, I put this inside of the other function. That's why. Why did I do that? Okay, so with any luck, that should be what we need. There we go. Okay, so we can trigger a respawn event there. Or we can just reset the transform on the player. So like life minus -1. And then like, let's do player position, query, mute, transform. Oh, and mute transform, right? Mutable reference to a transform with player. Player position dot translation dot x equals 0. Player position translation dot y equals, I don't think 0, 0 is the right thing here, but we're going to start with that. Translation, transform dot translation. That doesn't sound right. Oh, you know what the problem is? I didn't do the, okay, so let's do let position equals player position dot single mute dot unwrap, and then these will both be position, and now they should be transforms, and that should work. Expected F32 found integer. Dang. I almost feel like 0 should be inferred no matter where it is, but cannot borrow is mutable. Did I mess up? I did mess up. And then this is also mute. Rest C always keep me in line. Okay, so Corgo drops in, Corgo hits respawn spot. Corgo does not make it to so Corgo and physics position are not synced up when I do that. So let's figure out how to get that to work. Creation and insertion. Rigid body is created by adding all of the components part of the rigid body bundle. Maybe we need to grab a commands and actually reinsert the player. That would probably be the easiest way to do this if the transform isn't going to work. Let's do dot insert player, and we'll grab this, which will be the same exact thing. The rigid body and the collider also need to come with, as does the texture handle. That's quite a lot. I feel like I should almost pull this into its own function, because I know I'm going to change this and it's going to mess me up. So maybe we pull this out. We do fn spawn player. I drop everything in here. It yells at me, and then I go grab stuff from setup physics and I drop it in here, and it tells me which ones I'm not using, which is materials. And then spawn player will take these 3 arguments and it should be fine, right? So here we'll have spawn player, and it'll take mute commands, asset server, and mute texture atlases. Why is that running at me? Because I didn't ask for mutable references here. And then I think mute is no longer required here. I don't know that I need mutable references there, but okay. So now we have a corgi, and the corgi still has the same problem, right? We're not doing the thing. So let's do a spawn player here with the... It's really hot today, so I think I'm gonna... This stream is gonna be pretty short, but respawn, spawn player. These things need to come in from the query. Setup physics is gonna be these. So we'll pull those down into respawn. Respawn will take... Doesn't need materials. And then that should theoretically work. I need to despawn the player, right? I need to despawn the player first. So do we need a mutable entity for that? Let's see. Player position isn't something we're accessing anymore. So what commands dot entity, is it called player? Entity 2. I think that this needs to be dereferenced too. Dot despawn recursive, because we need to kill everything on it, including the physics. My guess is that's an ownership issue. Maybe not. Maybe I just don't need to dereference it. I thought I did. I thought I've done that before. I guess we can just pass in. Oh, you know what? Because we don't have a reference to an entity, we have the actual entity, so we don't need to. And now we have, hopefully, well, we have a corgi. There we go. It just starts at 0, 0 and needs to start at, where does it need to start? That's 75 high. Okay, why is it starting 75 high? Am I setting it to 75 and I just didn't realize it? It's entirely possible. Texture atlas from grid, from scale, from seconds, position, discrete, Rapier configuration, not necessary there. Collider position, there we go. The rigid body position needs to be at 0, like, let's make it 10. A little better than 75. Now we have our little corgi, and it resets and drops in and tries to jump again and fails, and resets and drops in, tries to jump again and fails, resets and drops in. Of course, when we could probably optimize that little glitch, but not too concerned about it. Jumps, oh no, it fell. Resets. Okay, so that's decent. We do need to fix the like ability to just run forever, but this respawn floor is definitely long enough. So now we have a bottom. Ideally that's off screen, I think. So we can move that down. Where's our respawn floor? There. So -20 probably puts it. Let's see, if that's 10, probably 15 would have done it. But maybe we want to instigate a little bit of anticipation. You can technically go below the bottom if you can get yourself back up. I don't know how you'd get yourself back up at this point, but so like, oh no, and then it resets. But if you had a jump, you could technically like barely save yourself. So there's one corgi length below the window as it stands right now, which I don't think is necessarily true. Like if we do something really tall and we had a really tall monitor, it wouldn't. Okay, so that's that. I'm actually really happy with that. So we've got a respawn floor happening. We can sort of like get the corgi to land on different platforms. It's a little, I don't know, I think it's a little too like fluid for me. Like if I'm not pressing, I think I want it to slow down faster. A little like, you know. Also, the jump needs to be either higher or we need to be like a smaller character with a smaller level. But this is dope. This is a 2D character with jump and left and right movement, force application. I'm not really sure what's going on here, where like you can just kind of pin yourself against this. I feel like I want to add, like if I rotate the corgi and use one of the frames to be like, the corgi is hanging on to the side and then jumps, that would be kind of cool. We don't have a jump animation. We're just kind of running forever. I'm sure there's something in the world that would make it like, better in that respect. Let's make the hitbox a little bit smaller for the corgi, and let's make it not a circle. Was it? I always forget what the thing is here. Is it Command Shift O? Yeah. Spawn player. So if you're not aware, Command Shift O or Control Shift O will give you a list of all the symbols in your file, and then you can just type them. So if I wanted to get back to like print the ball altitude or like spawn player, it's a VS Code thing, which is pretty nice. What was I going to do? This is a rigid body. The collider is a cuboid, which is a little big. I wonder if we can scale down the corgi sprite a little bit, or scale up the corgi sprite a little bit. I think it needs to scale up a little bit, like 0.25 maybe, because like it doesn't look like it's on the ground, and I want it to look like it's on the ground. It takes a while for that texture to load in. Okay, that looks like it's like actually running on the ground. I think maybe a little bit, I think it goes a little bit too low, so maybe like 0.24. But having the platforms like maybe look a little bit like they are, I guess tilted towards the player, so that it looks like the corgi is actually running on something rather than floating above it. It's a little better. The corgi's gigantic. Try 0.23. I don't know that this is going to hold up to future changes anyway, but one of the things I do want is to make for the corgi to look like it is running on the platform. Like that. Like that looks like the corgi's running on the platform a little bit more. And then it jumps and you're like, made it. Definitely moving too fast for the level. Which makes me think that the corgi should have like a much lower top speed. Because corgis are super fast. What did we do? We did corgi hitbox adjustments. we respawn floor. Push that up. Close out one or two of these issues. Respawn floor works. Close. Background image. Only animate sprite when running. I bet you we could detect velocity, and if velocity is greater than 0, like do it that way. How do we query the velocity of an object? Scene queries. Maybe we just need to query the object and check the velocity. There, rigid body velocity. There we go. And then where is our sprite tick? Animate sprite system. So this is covering everything in the sprite system. Maybe we want to save this for other sprites. I'm gonna save this just because, like, well, I guess it's in the Git, right? It's in the Git commit. We can always go back and find it. So instead of commenting it out, I'm going to grab the velocity, rigid body velocity, and then we're going to go back to, what is it? Animate sprite system, and we'll query for the rigid body velocity. So we get the timer, the texture atlas sprite, and a handle to the texture atlas, and a mute rigid body velocity. This is just ticking the texture atlas sprite. So we don't have a reference to like what entity there is. So let's do this, and then we'll do entity, and we'll do query for rigid body velocity. And then in here, we will, if timer.finished and velocities dot get entity dot map ent velocity velocity dot linear velocity linvel is greater than 0. Dot I don't want to unwrap. Can I do result to Boolean? Unwrapping the inside? velocity's got get entity. Is this dropped? Is that why that's complaining? Read only fetches not informative. Okay, so let's do this in a different spot at least. We'll tick the timer. Let is running, or is moving, let's say, is moving. Check the type of is moving. Is a result bool query entity error. So let's match. Well, let's not match. Let's do if let sum true. Then we do the rest of it. And there's if let chaining or like let chaining coming at some point in Rust, which is going to be kind of cool for this kind of thing. Use is okay. If I do is okay, that will only check if it's okay though, right? Returns true if the result is okay. So I don't really want is okay, right? Because if I do is okay, it won't give me the Boolean value inside of the thing here. Read only fetch is not implemented for. Did I not query this correctly? Get mute. Expected matrix found floating point number. Okay, the linear velocity is a matrix, which is going to be a problem, I suppose. Let's do this, and let's just set this to true for the moment so that I can debug out the linear velocity and figure out what that is and what I should do with it. This is an okay true. Replace if let with match. Why am I doing that? Cannot borrow is mutable because I didn't specify it as mutable in the query. Player position is no longer used, so I need to remove that. Okay, so it is a matrix. It's a 2D matrix. And it's positive or negative if it's not moving. So I don't think I want to do direct float comparison. I think I want to do a range, like a small range. Let's go check the matrix type for the rapier stuff. I have a million different tabs open. Bevy, rapier. So yeah, is okay would only give me the true or false if it was an okay, and the okay is based on whether the query succeeded or failed. But what I want actually is the answer to is the thing moving. So that's why I'm mapping over the okay value and turning it into a Boolean, whether it's got a linear velocity or not. Which means that is okay would give me the true or false on just the query for the entity, but not the actual value inside of it, which is the is moving test. Rapier 2D. This is matrix. Probably not in here. An algebra matrix. I don't want much out of this. Cross product, magnitude, and norms. Metric distance. These are all super useful if I was doing actual math with this, but I am not. I'm just trying to see if there is a velocity in the x direction. In place normalization, BLAS functions. Wait, we have access to the LPAC stuff. That's cool. Min and max components, common operations, iteration map and fold, slicing, swapping, and all of this is super useful, just not for what I want. You know what? Let me just see if I can like access the stuff that I want. Dot 0, or what's the thing bringing? Dot data 0. I feel like that's gonna be it. I don't want to use that. I want to use like get velocity or get x velocity or something, but like I don't think they have that. Okay, so we're falling. So you saw the y velocity changing there, and now we can see the x velocity changing. So we need dot 0 dot 0. Which doesn't look like it's happy about that. Instead of tuple indexing, use array indexing. Okay, yeah, sure, fine. Okay, and now I need to do 0 again. This is like I don't love reaching into this matrix. There's got to be a better way to do this. Like infomercial style. There's got to be a better way. But maybe not. Maybe this is actually all we have. So we are getting a velocity there now. So let's do velocity is greater than 1, or let speed equal this, and then speed greater than 1 or speed less than 1, and we'll return that value. Dot 0, 1.0. So the thing should only tick if we're moving. The texture loading for this is not great. So we're stopped, but it's still ticking. What am I not using this? If let okay, true. Is moving. Let's see if it's just passing through if I did my thing wrong. Yeah, is moving is just always true for whatever reason. Debug. Let's not debug. Let's print line speed and see what that value actually is. Oh, you know what I did? I just realized it. Less than -1 is the thing. So I'm doing kind of a gap here because exact float comparison is not necessarily the best. So here's the corgi just hanging out. We need like an idle animation. That would be cool. And then when you're moving, it moves. No, corgi. I feel like it should almost reset into the default. I think I'm okay with that for now, though. So let's get rid of this print line so that we're not printing out the speed every 2 seconds. Let's get rid of type inlays because those are kind of annoying to read sometimes. And then let's close some issues. Where is it? Only animate sprite when running. Done. Okay, so that leaves us with a bunch of stuff. We can do the detection now. So this collision here, we're already doing the collision detection on the floors. So if we label all of the platforms with like platform or something, we should be able to tell if the player is intersecting with anything called a platform. So that will make it so that we can only jump if you're on a platform, which is kind of cool. So that should be pretty easy to do. Let me make a note of that actually. Collision detection is implemented for respawn floor already. Should be able to tag platforms with a platform struct and filter collisions to see if corgi is on a platform. To tell if corgi should be able to jump. Cool. And then the floor level should be at the floor of the camera. That's still not a thing. I'm still not sure how best to do that because I feel like there needs to be some kind of resolution detection, right? Like where do I put this if I want it to be more towards the bottom? I could just arbitrarily put it lower, of course, but is that going to work? Like maybe I just say, okay, you have to have something that's like 1920 by 1080 or something. Can I not get out of this now? Oh no. If you, okay, so if you, oh, that's not great. There's no unfull screen ability here. So we're just gonna play this game forever now. Maybe we need an exit button. If anybody ever wants to quit the game, they're not allowed to, and if they're full screened. Let's file that as a bug because that's horrible. Is full screen. There is no minimize. There's no full screen button on Mac. Currently cannot quit game without killing CLI, which is really bad. Need to implement some kind of pause menu to enable game quits. Luckily, the pause menu should be pretty easy. The Bevy UI stuff is not my favorite to work with, but it is fairly easy to work with. It's just a bit verbose. Max speed still uncapped. Should not be able to go to the left of the start of the level. We could do like some kind of check on the camera and say like if camera is camera cannot go below 0, 0. Where's the camera sync? So if player transform is less than 0, do nothing. Otherwise, we can do that. Player transform dot translation dot x is less than 0. So now you should not be able to run backwards. At least the camera will not follow you backwards, which is good because that's what we want. So Corgi drops in the middle, we can move right, but then the camera stops, which is like, that's kind of cool. That was super easy to implement, actually. I thought that was going to be harder. I thought we were going to have to do something else, and then it should pick back up. You can sort of tell when the end of the level is. All right, so we're like getting there. We're coming along. Like we got to do some level design stuff, right? And make it actually work and resize it so that you're actually running in like a nice world and stuff. But like a lot of the mechanics are here. It looks like you're jumping with the Corgi. The jump is a little weak. I think that's going to be one of the things that we fix when we start actually building the level. Because the level graphics are like 18 pixels by 18 pixels or something. So I think we're going to have to scale the Corgi way down, which will make this whole thing behave a bit differently. Oop. And then we reset because I fell off. So we can do some like basic life counting kind of thing. Like number of times you hit the respawn floor instead of like lives. Yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea of like, instead of having lives tracking respawns. Track number of times Corgi hits respawn floor. Instead of having lives, just track attempts at level. I kind of like that. I like tracking the attempts rather than tracking the number of lives. Because then it's kind of like, you can get better, but you don't have to reset the entire game. What else do we have here? What else do we want to do? I think that the level design stuff, like so right now we just have white lines for the, oh, that's actually not, the one we were just on was not a bad jumping. I can get it back to the, yeah. So if that's the jumping one, if it goes to that index, whatever that index is, whenever you jump. So you're only running on the ground and then you jump and you're only running on the ground. That's cool. I like that idea. Is that easy to do? Can I do that really quickly? Let's get rid of the respawn. To do track game.respawn plus equals 1. So that'll be pretty easy. That'll just be inserting a game struct as a resource and then mutating it here. And then we need somewhere to display it. So we should start thinking about the UI a little bit. So that we can display some of this stuff. I think health is something that we'll track, like, or maybe, yeah, I think that health is something we'll track, because I think the difficulty of like avoiding all enemies forever, no matter what, is kind of not what I want to do. So each enemy will have to like take a chunk of your health off or something. Let's get rid of player position because we're not using that anymore. What was I originally looking at there? Oh, right, the jump. So we could do something like if if we have y velocity, then we go into the jump phase. I do feel like there needs to be some communication between the player input and the actual thing that's happening on screen. Where are we for the speed here? So there's this, right? And then that's telling us whether we should run or not, if there is an X value. So if that, let's do speed is going to be X speed, right? And we'll leave that for now because I want to think a little bit about how I want to do that. But I like the idea of jumping or whatever. So we have the we have the makings of a level. If I have more platforms, if there was maybe an end goal, maybe we have to like get to the doghouse or get to the dog bed or something like that. It does feel like we're moving through the level a little bit too fast, so we need to cap the like meters per second in the X direction. Maybe you start with a score and it counts down over the course of the level. Okay, well, I think that I'm happy with like where we ended up for today's stream. It's kind of hot today, so I think I'm gonna call the stream there. But I will be back again tomorrow with more Game Jam. So I hope to see y'all around.